the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson, and joined with me, as always, is...
Jason Dietz.
Or, as he might be known with this series, Grima Wormtongue. Trying to dissuade people from liking Lord of the Rings. The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies that he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We're currently watching The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
We're two English language arts high school teachers with graduate degrees, and we attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films and push you, the listener, to think critically about your entertainment. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
Yep. Thank you.
Here.
It makes the tragedy and the pain of spending 3 hours watching an hour and a half long movie bearable because I'm doing it for you.
Hold on.
Or, wait, this isn't the 3.5 hour one. Never mind.
This is the first time since starting our podcast that we will be recording 2 episodes back to back.
Yep.
So, listener, keep in mind, Jason watched 2 3-hour movies in one weekend, but we can't let that be a reason why he doesn't like these movies.
No, there's plenty of other reasons. So let me just at the start say that The Two Towers is a great movie.
Yeah, I think they're all great movies.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I texted you. I said we should have started with these 3.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I didn't know that Tolkien fatigue was a thing, but I definitely have Tolkien fatigue at this point. I think I would have appreciated the Lord of the Rings movies a lot more if I hadn't already spent 9 hours watching The Hobbit. So
Okay, here's my defense for that. Because, maybe there is an argument there. They came out that order.
I mean, that's how we watched the Marvel movies.
We watched, release order. But I was thinking Hobbit comes first chronologically, and they're not good.
Right.
And I did not want you to end this series on Battle of the Five Armies. That would have made you hate these even more, I think.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
But
I don't hate these. I will never voluntarily watch these again. Unless there is a massive, edit of them.
I wonder, there might be. I mean, for The Hobbit, it's easier to find, but...
Anyhow.
Or if you're, in a hotel once and you're just surfing channels.
No.
Put Two Towers on.
No. I mean, that's just me. I can see how people that enjoy epic fantasy would love these films. They are visually amazing. They're incredibly well acted.
Yeah.
Just too much stuff for my little brain to handle, I guess. Anyhow.
So we'll go over some pros and cons and then get to the good stuff. The philosophy and film studies and things. Do you have any cons for this movie? Let's start with your cons first, I think.
Do I have any cons? Actually, this one, I agree. I think you said last episode this was your favorite.
Yeah.
I agree. The middle one, The Two Towers, is the best of the 3. Mm-hmm. Mostly, it's like I've already said, the pacing feels like it's on half speed. The whole movie is just everything moves very slowly. Lots of travel, lots of long stuff. But ironically enough, the first hour of The Two Towers felt like events were moving way too fast.
Oh, really?
Just things were happening too fast,
We're also introduced to a new cast of characters in this movie.
Which one is this one?
King Theoden, who starts out all...
right, the Rohans.
Yeah, the Rohan. And there's a new woman.
Right.
The other female character in all of these.
And it's going to be worse, for me anyway, in the next movie. But just all of the side stuff is very too much.
It feels... It much feels like a mini-series.
Right.
But condensed to a movie.
Yes.
Type of thing.
I 100% agree with that statement.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you don't have to watch 10 hours worth of a show to get 3 hours worth of the good stuff.
That just gave me a shiver.
Because that's what happens when you get to a mini-series. Like, even the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, it's like, not all of this is equal. Like, not every episode is equal to the other episodes. Kind of thing. In fact, season 1 is mostly just setup, which is the problem with that first season.
Yeah. For
the Rings of Power, where you see a different version of Saruman. I mean, Sauron. He's the main bad guy.
And again, it's worse in the last. What is it? The
Return of the King. Yeah.
But a lot of the speeches in this one that were supposed
no. Okay, I see what you're saying. No, there's nothing wrong with speeches in the next one.
They're kind
some of the
flat.
best speeches in all of cinema.
Sam's speech in this one is
oh
flat.
My gosh.
What
are you doing? Are you playing a game on your phone while you're listening to that?
No, I didn't. I watched every...
That's one of the best parts of this
Sam's speech in this movie?
Yeah, it truly is. It's kind of about all of fantasy and story. Why do we
I love you.
Keep going.
No. It's fine.
He's literally like, why do people like stories? Why do we connect with stories and literature and fantasy? That's what his speech is about.
Yeah.
What is it? Those are the stories that stayed with you, that monologue?
Yes. It's okay.
Holding on to something that there's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. That's even more relevant now in 2025 than it was in 2002, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's okay.
No.
You can I texted you. I'm like, I understand that you love these. I do not love these. But it's okay that you love something that I don't love.
Good parts.
It's not. It's so sappy. And then all of the resurrections or fake deaths in this one were kind of annoying. So Gandalf resurrecting or whatever the crap happened to Gandalf.
Did you not know Gandalf was coming back?
I did. It's still annoying. Aragorn's quote unquote death was annoying. Theoden post awakening is annoying. This annoying. That's okay though. And then it's worse in the last one, but the Nick of Time crap drives me nuts anytime they do it. This battle's gonna be lost in the doom. Oh look, the horses showed up just in the nick of time. That's dumb.
Alright, but it's not a Deus Ex Machina. It's not, by definition.
Okay. So you keep making Subway Surfer jokes. This movie has a Subway Surfer moment. Friggin' Legolas Subway surfing on a shield down the stairs was idiotic.
So I actually just recently saw a video on YouTube that was defending that specific moment. And also, there's a few other things sprinkled out. Like, for example, when one of the Uruk-hai, he says, "Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys." And there's a lot of internet jokes implying, so this means orcs understand the idea of a menu. So if I remember correctly, the argument that I saw for the skateboarding thing, and it's similar to George Lucas's writing in the prequels. We have all these things that maybe stand out. That doesn't seem to fit in the movie it's in. But because it stands out, it's memorable, and because it's...
But not in a good way.
I think the Legolas thing... nothing breaks it. It's just
it didn't break it.
Because Peter Jackson kind of maybe comes from a background of
crap.
Kinda his schlocky B movies.
Right.
Maybe he likes to put stuff like that into
Yeah,
This-
just for fun. I
Yeah.
mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was okay. The ant didn't age very well, like in terms of special effects,
Well, yeah.
which is not. I mean, but the only thing that really annoyed me really was, so we have Legolas.
Yeah.
Apparently, he is the machine of shooting his bow,
Yeah.
hitting the first shot every single time. Every time. There's not a moment in all these 600 hours of film that he doesn't miss.
Yeah.
Or that he misses. Except the one time that he really, really, really needed to hit.
Yeah.
He gets 2 shots at this guy that's coming in to explode the Helm's Deep thing, and he misses both of them. That's stupid.
But he does hit the guy.
This dude is the same dude that in the Hobbit atrocities was like riding on people's heads,
Yeah.
jumping from head to head,
Yeah.
kill shot, kill shot, kill shot. He's standing on the top of this Helm's Deep. There's this guy, he's even got a torch. He's like, shoot me,
Yeah.
shoot me. No. That's the only part that I was like, that is stupid. Everything else was just kind of nitpicky, if I'm being honest. For me, this was a 4-star movie.
That's really
And
good.
it would have been 5 stars if it was like a 2-hour movie. But that's okay.
You know what? Not to give you any leeway on that, because once again, I even watched the extended edition. I do think in the middle...
There's no medal for that. Do you know that?
No,
Like, there's no award
I get
that
blessed.
anyone's gonna.
My life is better because I watched
I
the...
survived the 4.5 hour.
I will say in this movie, the Aragorn stuff kind of like slows it down a little
Yeah.
bit, especially when we him and what's the elf girl's name? It's not
Eowyn? No, Arwen.
Yeah, when he's talking with her, it does feel like it's slowed down a lot.
Yeah, there's several of those moments.
Yeah.
But that's it.
But do you now see, having seen the Hobbit movies, just how like, even though you hate them already,
I
but
don't
just
hate these
no,
movies.
no, the Hobbit movies.
Oh, those? Yeah.
How it's just like the orcs are just
Yeah.
paper CGI things. In this, you can see the armor.
They're
They
individual.
don't seem to die like just as easy. I mean, they do, but you're seeing like arms get cut off, heads get cut off.
Yeah.
It just seems a little bit more real.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got, like, they have individual personalities in the Lord of the Rings that they didn't have
Yeah, there's
at all in The Hobbit.
one of the behind the scenes, one of the Orca actors, he said like, you know, they kind of do different things sometimes, and you don't want to die first because all the other orcs will like kick you on their way, like as they walk by you and stuff, because they're being they're being orcs.
They're being orky.
Yeah. Okay, I have a nitpick, which is very frustrating,
Okay.
but does not matter whatsoever. Gimli and Legolas have their competition. You know, that's so fun.
Sure.
At the end of the second movie, they reveal their number of orcs, like Uruk-hai, that they've killed.
Yeah.
Way too low.
Sure.
There's a scene you did not see. Gimli is literally sitting on a dead one. It's like, so what did you get? And Legolas goes, I got 42. Oh, very good for a pointy-eared. I am sitting on killed 43. And then Legolas like pulls an arrow, shoots right between his legs. What was that for? He twitched. Gimli goes, he twitched. He grabs his axe, and it's like in his head. Because I've got my axe embedded in his nervous system. And the orc's like twitching and stuff. But 42 and 43 is just criminally too low.
You want a much higher body count?
Yeah, because Lego's like, I'm on 18 already. You know? That doesn't matter at all. It's just, why did they choose such a low number for
Well,
that?
those of us who know why they would have chosen 42
Okay.
know. And everyone else doesn't know.
Okay. You texted me, and then you stopped texting me at the very beginning
That's
about
frustrating.
my texts.
No.
Oh.
Just about what? Sorry.
Because you said, a dream sequence. I mean,
That was stupid.
no, it's just the dream sequence in question is the Gandalf Balrog scene at the beginning that Frodo wakes up
Falling
from.
for infinity hours and slamming into everything there is to slam into, and
So there are purposes for that sequence, like reminding the audience about Gandalf,
who's dead.
Yeah, having a way to show what Sam's thinking, not Sam, what Frodo's thinking about and stuff. But the scene is so cool. Like when it have that extra wide shot, and you see like I guess that pool or whatever that's at the bottom, and this is Gandalf and the Balrog fighting in midair. That's so cool. That's like heavy metal, even. That's like something you'd see on a heavy metal album or something.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have issues with it. I thought it was dumb, but I appreciate how people could geek out about it.
Okay, at least there's that.
I understand. I get it. I've had movies or books more than movies where I got done and I was like, oh, like now I have to say goodbye. Now I have to let this storyline that I've fallen in love with kind of recede into the back of my memory. I don't want to do that yet. Yeah. So I totally get it. It just isn't that way for me with Tolkien.
I would argue the ending of the third movie is one of the best encapsulations of that feeling for a film. Like these characters were saying goodbye,
For 45 minutes.
No
joke. 45 minutes. Anyhow.
Okay,
That's your whole entire cons list is.
Oh, and like
it
becomes Aragorn's movie for almost an hour in the middle,
right?
And that some of that is just it slows down to like a halt.
Look at you! Look at you! I'm proud of you.
Guess what? I have some fun facts for you.
Of course.
And I'm excited beyond all reason to tell you one of them.
Okay.
Okay, first, when Sam and Frodo are at the beginning, they're lost and there's all that fog.
Okay.
That's real fog. They didn't plan that. That was a happy accident.
Oh, nice.
They're like, let's use this.
Yeah.
Like, it's ruining our filming day.
The fog in, like, that cool dead marsh thing?
No, like, in the canyon before they even find Gollum and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that was just a happy accident, and it just worked out so well. Okay, one of the most famous movie fun facts ever, because it's just everyone knows about it and becomes a meme at this point where when it happens in the movie, it's kind of a joke to be like, did you know? And I don't think you know this, so I'm a little bit happy that I get to tell you this. Aragorn, Legolas, and Pippin, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they get to where they think Merry and Pippin have been killed, Right. There's a pile of orcs. Aragorn kicks a helmet and yells. And here it is. This is what every fan already knows. The actor broke his toe kicking that. Oh. That scream was like a legit real scream.
Oh, that's funny.
But I've seen
it's like a snuff film, but for your toe.
Yeah, I've seen TikToks where it's like a husband watching with the wife, and the wife had never seen, and it gets to that point, and the husband's just sweating. It's like, do I say it? Do I not say it? Stuff like that, But he breaks his toe. That was a real scream.
That's sad for him.
This is something maybe we just take for granted now, but at the time, it's revolutionary. So we have all these armies of bad guys attacking Helm's Deep, basically. So they invented a technology for this movie. They invented the crowd simulation. So like when you're animating something or like using CGI, there's simulations now. Like, have this look like fire or smoke, or have this react like real life water.
Like we saw in Birdemic. Excellent
act like a bird.
Of that.
Sure.
Fire on these trees.
And they knew all these. They couldn't feasibly have all of these thousands of orcs like in real life. So they created this simulation, the crowd simulation. So each individual person would behave a little bit differently. Like they say
in the big shots where you see the whole
right.
Of the. Oh, okay.
And even like another on this one and the next movie too, it's like they have like, go from here, point A to point B, but how they run is just different, and that hadn't been done before this movie. And now we kind of take it for granted because we've seen a lot of other big movies or even video games and stuff. That was a cool invention.
That is kind of cool.
2002. Because if you think about it, I mean, I guess a lot of Jurassic Park. 94 or was it 95? We have dinosaurs for the first time. Then we have like the prequels were coming out around this time. Harry Potter was coming out this. Like, all of a sudden, now movies could be anything. And it was still exciting now to see spectacle with CGI. Now we don't really even care,
Right.
kinda.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was still...
CGI fatigue.
Yeah, I guess, in a way. But, like, now it was still like, wow, there's still... Look at all these things that we could do with the computer graphics.
Yeah.
And this is just, you know,
Pretty
cool
cool.
things. And you're right, not all of it has aged, but mostly due to the fact that it came out in 2002 versus it looked bad at the time.
Right.
There
Yeah.
are a few things like the wargs, which look like hyenas in this one.
Right.
I think hair didn't quite look good yet.
Yeah.
And those do look dated, but it still
It's okay.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing took me out of this movie other than the length of it.
Did you stop watching on fast speed when it got to Helm's Deep?
I should have.
No, because you're right. You texted me the last hour is glorious.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, still to this day, the longest battle sequence in
I don't
anything.
know, because the other one in the
Yeah.
next movie felt interminably long. So.
I think this one it's just,
Helm's
even
Deep
though I
was-
think the next one's great, this one is
the next
just
one
something
is
else.
not great.
I would argue this is a personal thing. This is probably still like the best Actually, I just remembered there is an episode of South Park where they needed to, there's a big battle like in heaven or whatever. It does not matter, the South Park episode, but they in the episode you see just a person standing on like a castle, like, and that's all you see. He's like, wow, this battle is huge. You know that battle in Lord of the Rings? This is like 10 times bigger than that battle. But like it's like that's to this day I still think incredible.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah. It is the best part of all three movies.
it's hard to
It is
argue that, actually.
magnificent. Yeah, everything about it worked except for Legolas's aim at that crucial moment, as we already mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Because there's so many just moments
Yeah.
split, like, all throughout the battle. Because if you just had fighting the whole time, it's boring, actually.
Right.
But they split up
Yeah.
in incredible... Besides the fact we cut to, like, the ends, we cut to Frodo and stuff, the battle itself is like a movie.
Yeah, I agree. That battle by itself is like one of my 4 stars.
Man, there was a video game movie tie-in to this movie and also the next one that me and my brothers replayed a lot. And like you were one of the 3 main heroes and like you had to like kick the ladders down, fight the orcs off, kick the ladders down, and all these things.
Yeah.
And
So here's the question that occurred to me. If you are in Helm's Deep
yeah.
and you know that they're going to be using ladders, why don't you have a ladder poker?
That's a great question.
Like the whole time when they're throwing the ladders up, I'm like, why don't they have like a 10-foot pike and you could
Yeah.
just shove the ladders off? That would have changed the whole battle.
But then they got the super ladders.
But if they would have just invested in some long poles, I think the whole battle would have gone differently.
See,
I mean, they won, but
yeah.
you know.
See, even in like once again comparing to the Hobbits, it's like let's have every normal person fight, whatever. But in this, it's like, yeah, here's some kids, you see some old people, and they are also just losing. They lose basically until the very end.
Until our yes.
Okay, do you want to know why it's not a Deus Ex Machina, Deets? Because there
I
is,
would love to
there
hear
are
your
rules.
apology for this.
Okay, a true Deus Ex Machina is frustrating because it comes out of nowhere. It's not set up.
Like, for example,
Like for
the victory at Helm's Deep.
no, because Gandalf literally tells us if you survive, all you need to do is survive until the morning, and then that's when I'll save you. So it's not.
But that
He
doesn't make
tells
any sense.
us.
Like, how is he? I understand that it was seeded, but like, why?
Why what?
Why wait? Why? How would he know he's gonna show up on the 5th day? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I don't think it needs to make sense
Okay.
technically.
Also, this brings
But
up
it's-
one of my issues
Okay.
with all of this. Is Gandalf is one of the things that pisses me off
Okay.
because He's stupid.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if for 95% of this movie he forgets that he's a wizard and has all these awesome powers that he uses, infrequently. Like, what is the point of having a wizard if the wizard all he ever does, well, we'll get it to the next one, which is even worse. But
his powers are a little ill-defined.
It's stupid. Anyhow.
You're right. Someone should rewrite Lord of the Rings with better magic system.
Well, not okay, I won't, what's a different term I can use for Deus Ex Machina that adequately describes when Gandalf uses his powers and when he doesn't?
Okay, well...
Okay, thank you. So, it's just like,
we
don't know how to get out of this, and then Gandalf has this... Anyhow.
They just had to survive until the morning.
Gandalf
that's a metaphor, actually.
Poop.
Do you want to know something? I've actually used that scene when I've taught symbolism to, sophomores.
When the light shines.
Yeah, because, we go over all, the basic stuff, like seasons, what they symbolize, north, east, southwest. The sun rises in the east.
Yeah.
And we watch that scene, and it's what does the sun rising symbolize type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it is a great moment.
It is.
I'm not taking it away. It's just not logical, which I guess is fine. Whatever.
All right.
To me, having not watched these for however long, 20 years, literally the only part of all three of these that I remember is the Ents taking out Isengard. And that was still my favorite part of all 6 of these movies.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm getting chills right now. It's
just
the depth of emotion from these eternal or mostly eternal beings and the loss of all of these friends and whatever, and how they use, initially they're not tough. They're not, they're trees.
Yeah.
Trees don't beat people up. They don't win wars. They whatever. But this recurring theme that bloom where you're planted, use your skill set. All they can do is stand in the face of this flood of water. But it's amazing to watch you should have known better. He knew better. The fires of Isengard are going out today. Just amazing. It was beautiful. And it didn't, on 20 years later watching, it didn't look that great. But just the depth of loss and the depth of emotion is done really well there.
Yeah.
Where it's not done very well other places.
I did pick up a huge theme of protecting nature in this one.
Yeah.
And that's directly tied to it, actually.
Yeah.
Because, they are literal trees. I mean,
right.
They're ants. They do make that distinction. I'm no tree. I am in it. But, he is their nature, you know. And I keep finding new theories, I suppose. Ideological theory. Are you familiar with that? Because I wasn't, and I'm still maybe not. It's kind of a theory that proposes an idea that regardless of counter arguments, you're not going to change your mind type of thing.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of maybe the gist of that.
Stuck in your...
But also, it's some things people shouldn't murder, stuff like that.
Unless we should.
So, the industrialization versus nature, and Saruman started this last movie, and he's we can't, the orc's we can't. There's totally what is it called, what's a foreman when you work at a factory or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a foreman orc. It's I gotta tell Saruman that update our status here, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's we don't have enough fuel to fulfill the need. Well, burn all that for us, basically. But let's see, Saruman's destruction of Isengard's forest. And he embraces machinery, the industry. It's also it does dive into kind of Marxist theory here, where it's who has the means of production,
right,
and let's abuse it and not care about the consequences type of thing. then that makes Saruman like the rich person.
For sure.
I have all of these people, these armies. I have the most capital here.
Yeah.
But he's destroying nature to do that. Kind of like real life capitalism to some degree.
Yeah, to some degree.
I'll say it like that. But like the Ents literally, like I already said, they're trees. They are nature, and it's not till they see the destructions when they actually do the thing.
Right.
But like, okay, but there are things sprinkled throughout this movie that reflect that nature is an important thing. For example, like I said, the sun being used as a tool, like helping them out. The King Theoden reflects on his son's tomb has the flowers growing on it, type of thing. Like, I think this one specifically has that as a
theme.
Key idea in this entire movie. The other main thing that helps feed this idea is Aragorn and his horse. And you didn't get all that in the theatrical,
Thankfully.
but his horse is like a wild horse. It can't be tamed. But Aragorn, he doesn't tame it at first. He lets it go. And then when he's in the water, that horse is what finds him. That becomes his horse.
Oh, that was totally random, actually.
Yeah,
like this horse just randomly
that was
shows
set up
and...
earlier. But he's like, this horse. It was Theoden's sons who died. He's like, this horse. We got to let him free, basically. Yeah. Plus, then there's Shadowfax, the Lord of Horses. But in making this movie, the guy who played Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen, he like literally connected with this horse. He even like slept in the stable sometimes to so there was a connection there. Okay. And there's like this behind the scenes like, oh, he didn't have to. He had a hotel, but he did try to bond with this horse because the horse did have to flip him over naturally. Kind of have to like be gentle with Viggo.
Right.
But he did try to go out of his way to do that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's cool.
So
that's one of the things I really like about Christian Bale is how much he does to immerse himself in his roles. So that's cool that other people do that too.
Yeah.
Cool. Philosophically, the Ents' position is an interesting one. Like they're saying, you know, your suffering or the suffering of the other living creatures isn't really our concern. It's not really our business.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of stay out of it.
And that's when he goes, but you're part of this world.
Right. And they don't care. Like they're just like, we're happy, we're here, we're chilling. Kind of like the hobbits on the other end of the world, right? Mm-hmm. They're just happy, chilling. So that's creates this tie back to othering, right? That's the other people's problem, other people's pain, other people's whatever. But it's interesting with the Ents versus the hobbits. The hobbits don't ever feel it. Like it never reaches the Shire because the Shire's on the end of the map over there somewhere.
Yeah, I know in the book there is a thing that happens in the Shire, just cut out from the movies though.
Yeah, and so taking that philosophical stance, it's their pain. I don't really have anything to do with it. Apparently, Tolkien feels like, you know, that's an okay stance to take because the hobbits just chill and do their turnips.
Well, but the hobbits were saved by a war. Right,
but they didn't do anything. In it. They did literally nothing other than the 3.5 hobbits that helped out. Which we'll talk about. This stupid Pippin. Anyhow. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Ents. And that's kind of the cost of taking that stance. Because if they had been more involved in the world and, you know, other people's problems, that forest would likely still be there. And all of their friends would likely still be there. And the whole course of this saga would have been different because I never really understood the relationship between the trees and the mud and the Uruk-hai and whatever is happening there. But I kind of got the sense that without the trees, the Uruk-hai wouldn't have come out or whatever. I don't know. Keep going. The point is, if we learn from the Ents philosophically, we need to be involved in other people's pain, not involved. We need to be aware, and we need to be actively trying to make the world a better place because, as the Ents found out, if you don't, then you're going to eventually lose things or people or whatever that's very important for you. Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of dichotomy that Tolkien creates for us where the hobbits can just chill and have no effect, but the Ents can't. And so we're kind of left with an unanswered question. Do we just keep living our lives and ignore other people's needs and pain, or do we need to get involved because it's going to hurt us?
See, okay. I have a thought that seems like a cop-out, but I also wonder how much of it is a cop-out. Because if you look at the news, there are things going on that kind of dive into this idea of, like, people suffering here, or people needing help there, in real life right now, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, we are where we are, or you are where you are, listener. What's your responsibility to help people on the other side of the world or something?
Well, right, and we've talked a lot about that. I don't know that we have responsibility to help other people on the other side of the world. We have the responsibility, I think, like the Ents did, and this is the end of the train of thought.
Yeah.
Like the Ents, it wasn't on the other side of the world. It was just right there.
Yeah,
it's just on the end of their world. And so in the Ents sphere, they should have been involved in that. They're supposed to be the caretakers of the forest and whatever. Whereas for the hobbits, like, it's functionally not happening at all for the hobbits.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the answer to this, is if we can do something, maybe we should, but if we can't, I don't know, prayers and well wishes and maybe donations.
Is there any point in doing something via the internet where you can connect globally? Or I don't even know what people can do besides argue about different things here and there.
Yeah.
Unless you can donate money, probably, but I don't know.
Right.
Not everyone can.
So I guess really my thought is be aware of where you are.
Yeah.
And the needs around you and what's happening around you, and act. I will say this. So in our real life experience, Ryan and my experience here, we've had situations where forces were acting and causing negative effects on our school, and people in our community saw that and acted. Yeah. They didn't just, oh, well, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a this or that. They saw what was going on and took action. Yeah. And our school system here is better for them having done that. And I think if you look wherever you are in your sphere, you'll see people that have done the same thing. And so don't be like the Ents and be sad and tragic. Pay attention.
Yeah, but they did do something.
I mean, too late. I mean, they got vengeance for sure.
Because, well, Theoden, he does say, "What can men do against such hate?"
Yeah, I love that's one of the lines I wrote down.
And I think that's, if anything, that's what we face no matter where you are. Angry people are just people who, I don't know, believe in stuff that spreads hate.
Yeah, that is a quote I wanted us to play with for sure.
Because can you stop hate as a person? Maybe not. In fact, if there's someone who's just a bitter, angry person, but you don't know them, let's say it's just like someone you bump into at the store, there's probably nothing you can say or do that could change their mind.
Probably. I don't know.
Because I feel like, are the days of like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or like the PBS icons, have those days gone away where, teaching kids to be good kids, because
be good citizens,
to be good people, basically. Yeah. I don't know if we have those role models anymore, and if we did, I don't think there's a way that kids would watch them the same way. Not that watching PBS makes you a good person. It helps, though, I think, because I watched PBS.
You're a good person.
Am I? I guess I just remembered in the movie I Am Legend with Will Smith, he talks about Bob Marley, saying Bob Marley had this belief that hate was something you could cure.
Yeah, I think it's curable for sure.
So maybe.
Well, so my solution that we've talked about a lot is de-othering. Yeah. So it's a simple to talk about, difficult to do, but you have to understand yourself first, and then you just look for yourself in other people. And as soon as you see yourself in someone else, they're no longer an it or an obstacle or an enemy or whatever. Yeah. They're a part of you. And I guess self-hate is a thing, but it's harder to hate a part of you than it is to hate,
See, but also, going back to the well-worn well that we go to of social media makes people hate.
Of
Like,
course.
I just need to stop using this as the example, but I had a class talk about Instagram Reels, besides the fact that there are horribly violent things there, but a lot of them would just say how there are just racism on Instagram Reels. Like, jokes or not, those are going to,
Yeah, absolutely.
help spread
We are
hate.
what we put in our heads. Because
Right.
that's all that our minds have to create us with. So if we're putting in this steady diet of these racist, violent, sexist, whatever reels, what do you think you're going to be? You have to become that because that's what you're putting in. It's what you're loading into the system.
Yeah, but if all you see are just news stories about, I don't know, specific types of people doing specific types of things, that's what you're going to think.
Yep. I think that is a pretty safe statement to make. So we need to elevate what we're watching.
So it's like we need to watch Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Okay,
At least we'll be asleep and not causing any...
Oh my. Okay, I have a couple movie things first. Just like
Okay. I've got some pros I want to talk about.
there is a moment in this movie where Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are on a ridge line, and they see the Rohan coming up, but they go behind a rock, and then the horses come riding past them. Logically, that doesn't make sense.
No.
They would have been seen. However, through the language and understanding of film, it works. It doesn't break it because we see them hide or whatever. But like you're probably like, they would have seen them and would have not ridden past them. But movies literally work a specific way, and like that it doesn't break your brain, or people probably even realize it if they watched it, and because it doesn't ultimately matter because we understand what the movie was doing, and it works. That's really cool.
Sure.
There's a somewhat famous behind the scenes conversation that happened with this movie where someone asked Peter during the big battle of Peter Jackson,
My good boy.
PJ as I like to call him. So
That's an apt, actually, pajama man.
Oh my. So it's like nighttime, and someone else say, hey, where's this light coming from for this nighttime battle? And apparently, allegedly, he said, the same place the music is coming from. Because, ultimately, it's just how movies are, and it needs to work, and it works. Alternatively, you have something like Game of Thrones. It's called
willing suspension of disbelief.
Right.
That's what it's called.
You're right. And that's true. You're willing to suspend, like, yeah, they can just see things. The moon is maybe super bright or whatever. It doesn't matter. But, like, if you go flip back the other way, there's an episode of Game of Thrones in the last season. And the last season's awful. But they've been building toward this one specific big battle this whole time that takes place at night. And it's so dark. And it's like, is it worth it to be more realistic if you can't see anything?
Yeah.
No. In fact, I remember when that happened the next day, it was on the news. People like turned up the brightness on their TVs and stuff. Like enough people did that it was on the news because they were trying to, I guess, maybe do the opposite of this movie. But now we can't see anything.
Right.
It's better.
Ultimately, that's the point of a movie is to see.
Yeah. Anyway, so movies are cool. Is the main idea there.
They are. Haven't hit any pros yet. But...
I feel like the rest of the movies are pro, So I love Faramir.
I kind of agree, actually.
Last week you said Boromir is the best member of the Fellowship. He's the most interesting. What do you think about Faramir, his brother?
His brother is not that interesting.
I think they kind of work as interesting foils in a way.
Yeah, and the interesting brother and the not interesting brother. Yeah.
I love how randomly we don't know Faramir until he's literally kidnapping Frodo and Sam and Smeagol here.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the entire thing hinges on him. Like, all of a sudden, he could take the ring. He could not let them go. He is the one person that decides the fate of the world, basically, which I think is kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. The idea of which comes up over and over in this series, just the one person making the one choice can change everything. Yeah, I like that. He's not that interesting. He doesn't actually do anything.
He just wants to make his dad happy, and his dad hates him.
Yeah. Is that in the next movie?
Yeah,
Okay,
mostly. You get one flashback with Boromir in this one.
Talk about that next. Some pros. The Rohan Uncle King guy, whatever his name is super creepy at the start.
Oh, when he's all like...
So good. It's so good. I loved that. I was just, kind of made my skin crawl a little bit how good he was.
That's like, but that's another... There's so many, I guess... Maybe it's easy to see things in real life from these movies. Like... Worm Tongue, he's just feeding the king poison. Yeah. This is what you should think. This is what you should do. Like, we all can think of different types of people like that. Here's our poisoned leader because he's listening to...
Yeah, and Worm Tongue guy I have as a pro, too. Like, he's so good at what he's doing. I think I've decided that Gollum is the best thing in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, every scene that he's in is amazing. Whoever that guy is...
That's Andy Serkis.
Is so good.
Yeah.
So good. Like the Dead Marshes, I think they were called. We should have had way more Dead Marsh stuff.
Okay.
That was so like just engaging and like just the idea that there's this marsh and they're still alive in there or dead or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I wanted way more of that. That was creepy. Cool.
I remember seeing that in theaters. What was I? 8? That freaked me out. If I'm being honest. Yeah. It
was well done. The "We Are Alone" speech was magnificent. Where he's like, they're not coming, we are alone.
Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? That one?
That was awesome. That was so good. And I have to admit that I felt the pathos of Sam delivering the line, "It's yours, Sam." Like I felt that, and I didn't cry or tear up or anything. But if I had a heart and emotions, that would have been one of the moments that I would have been like, I would have been like, "Oh, that's beautiful."
This is going back to The Hobbit. We're like, oh, Bilbo seems so evil all of a sudden. When he kills that spider, it's like, this is mine. I guess that's pretty consistent with these movies too. Because Frodo, he's had it for a while, I guess, but he's about to kill Sam because he doesn't recognize Sam. Yeah. And so, it just makes you blind. It's pure... The hatred comes out again.
Yeah. So there's another really good speech is whoever the Matrix guy, what is his name? Elrond's speech to his daughter.
Yeah.
I felt that because I'm a dad of... late teen daughter. I'm like, will you just please? So I felt that. That was really well done. So, and then who's Éomer? Éomer? Who's that?
Like actor-wise?
No, just in the movie. Because I wrote Éomer's Charge, but I don't remember what that is. Does he ride down into the Battle of Helm's Deep? Is that
with Gandalf?
I don't know. I just wrote Éomer's Charge. It was really, really good. So while you're looking that up, Frodo's kind of boring. He doesn't do much, and he just doesn't. But Sam, like you said in the last episode, Sam has a great arc.
Yeah, I think I would say the rest of the Hobbits become more interesting after Fellowship.
Yeah.
Especially Sam. Especially
Sam is great.
Like I thought I said last episode, it's like the hero's journey, we focus on Frodo, I guess, but Sam is like more human.
I agree. Sam is so if I had to pick two characters, it would be Gollum and Sam, and all the rest of them can just kind of go away, especially Gandalf the worthless.
Éomer is played by Carl Urban.
I don't know who that is, but he made a charge at some point in this movie.
Probably down the hill
at Helm's Deep. That charge, okay, that was good. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Just the whole speech, everything that he did there, and then so there's a lot of incredibly effective acting, speech giving. Yeah, I mean there are some not awesome speeches, but it was really good. Yeah, it was long. But
this movie has probably the best door opening sequence ever. Aragorn, he comes back from after falling off the cliff.
Being dead.
He sees the army. He walks in those doors. It's like slow motion even.
I don't remember.
Our fans remember.
It's probably great.
Remember when Aragorn opened the doors? Yeah, of course.
Cool.
It's one of the highlights of the whole movie somehow.
Sorry, I missed it.
Carl Urban, he's... did you see the new Star Trek movies? He's Bones.
Okay, cool.
But there was a funny joke where it's like, if his hair is long, it's fantasy. If it's short, it's science fiction. Because there's a couple examples.
So there was one quote I wanted us to talk about.
Okay.
From the Rohan King Theoden.
Yeah.
He says, how did we come to this?
Yeah, slowly.
Well, right.
By degrees.
Right. And so I think that's a great question that we should ask before it comes to this. So a huge part of why I teach and we teach critical thinking is so that it doesn't ever come to this.
Yeah.
And so as critical thinkers, as our audience are critical thinkers, I feel like we have the obligation in a world that doesn't think, to think and look ahead and look at what are the consequences of X, Y, or Z? What are the implications potentially of this path? And act. Like, I guess I'm a broken record at this point, but I believe very strongly in acting and not being acted upon, to borrow a phrase that some people may recognize. And so how it comes to this is thinkers don't think, and thinkers don't draw conclusions, and thinkers don't persuade others, and thinkers don't act. And so if we enjoyed, all of the Deus Ex Machina of,
other movies,
of
not
the
this
Lord
one.
of the Rings series, that's great, but that doesn't always happen in real life. If we think of like the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia,
And that
right, exactly. Like, we know about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
We know about, to a lesser extent, what Stalin did in Russia.
Right.
Khmer Rouge is on par with that.
Yeah.
But we don't even know. We've never heard of it. We don't, think about it. There's so many, like a book that I read recently was the top 100 dictators in the world's history or whatever. And there's a massive number of those top 100 in the last century.
Huh.
We never heard of them. We don't know them.
I guess the Holocaust being the number one thing we focus on, the recent modern tragedy, horrible things, that wasn't even taught until decades after it happened.
Yeah.
Even.
And so how does that happen?
I don't know.
I think
part of the school system, am I right?
Sure. It's part of the school system, but it's also thinkers allowing the school system to teach us how to think. Or what to think probably is a better thing. And so again, do we have the obligation? So Cambodia is, I think, almost literally on the other side of the world. What could we have done? What could we have found out? I have a clue. But again, in our spheres, what's going on? And what do we need to do about it? How does it come to this? How does it come to an army of orcs and whatever else those things are?
The Uruk-hai.
Like, what is the difference?
The Uruk-hai, they came from the mud and ground.
Right. Other than where they were born.
The orcs. Orcs came, or something they used to be like elves. But they got
forced underground.
Yeah, and I don't know all the lore, but technically the Uruk-hai get killed off in this movie. But
okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyhow, so we've
Tolkien
got this
expert.
thing going on. They know crap is happening at Isengard.
Yeah.
They don't do anything about it. They don't find out about it. They don't whatever until it's too late. And then we've got them marching on Helm's Deep. We've got them slaughtering, villages of Rohans. Is that the name of the species or whatever?
Rohan? No, that's the
Rohans.
Like the country of people.
Right. They're slaughtering the villages in Rohan and all of this. How did it come to this? Thinkers didn't think. Thinkers didn't teach. Thinkers didn't act. That's how it comes to that. So, anyhow, that's a piece of philosophy.
And
absolutely.
I guess there's that one famous saying that we've probably even mentioned on this podcast. There's 3 types of people in this world. There's those who know something is happening and does something about it. There's things that know something's happening but don't do anything about it. And then there are people who don't know something's happening.
Yeah. Think
critically is the difference, though. Because it's not... I think and I've said this, I feel like a broken record at times. Thinking critically doesn't mean being smart.
No.
It's being able to think about ideas you disagree with.
Yeah.
And being able to understand what you agree with. You know? It's seeing arguments, seeing things, evidence, facts, and understanding why you think what you think.
Yes.
And understand why people think they think.
Yep.
That's critical thinking.
Yep.
I feel like
we need a lot more of it.
if only there was a teacher. Just kidding. I know all good teachers teach critical thinking. And then there's me who tries, I suppose.
Cut that out.
Okay, you know what? Last week, I promised, not that it was a big promise, I was going to use the feminist lens on this movie.
It's true.
And I have done that.
Excellent.
In a couple different ways. I found a couple of fun things. Because, once again, a reminder, feminist lens isn't feminism the movement. It's looking how gender is used in our films. So, there's a couple different ways. We have to take into account who wrote this thing, Tolkien. 40s, 50s, women were not going to be as involved. In fact, the female characters we get in Lord of the Rings, their roles have been greatly grown, basically. They're not
the movie?
Yeah. Eowyn says her greatest fear is being in a cage. And which makes sense. Medieval times, women didn't have rights, essentially. Even back when Tolkien wrote the book, maybe not as many rights as you would think as like the modern day woman type of thing. What is your greatest fear? It's not dying, it's being trapped in a life that you have no say over. Yeah. And then your life is over, basically. And so from a feminist lens, Eowyn's struggles reflects the conflict that a lot of women have faced or maybe even will face in their life. Of like being trapped with no say. She wants agency. And she wants the right to fight alongside everyone else, which she does in the next movie.
Yeah.
I should note, because we know in the next movie she kills the Witch King. I did see an argument say it's not technically the fact that she's a woman, it's the fact that the Witch King got stabbed by that one elvish blade, and the next blow would have been able to kill him. It just happened. I saw an argument saying that once, and I don't technically know. Sure, but it's a great moment. I am no man, you know.
In the next.
But apparently inaccurate to some people. Arwen, the other...
Yeah, intimidated by powerful women, those people, apparently.
So. Arwen mostly appears in flashbacks in dreams when Aragorn is like dying, basically. She's the elf one, yeah. She's not really... They shot Helm's Deep when she was there fighting, but that footage doesn't exist. It's mostly just some images like that were on set of the day. Yeah. I don't know what it would have looked like, but it just seems so good now. It's hard to imagine her being there now. A different way to use the feminist lens for this movie, she's only the dream sequences, these memories, kind of reinforcing her role as the romantic motivation.
Right.
And that's it. It could argue that it suggests that women belong in this specific way to see them. The way I want to see them. The perfect ideal woman is the one that's in my head type of thing. Yeah. So you could argue it's reinforcing maybe that negative trope there.
100% is. And she's never not, like, they film her in a very soft light. Like, she's not strong, she's not powerful, she's just, what is that called? Like, she's got this little soft glow. She doesn't have angles to her features, it's all softened.
Like there's no shadows or anything.
It's kind of annoying.
I found this, which is fun. Some feminists interpret the Entwives as a metaphor for women marginalized or erased in patriarchal histories and myths. Which is so. I'm trying to paint strokes for feminist theory here, where it's like, here's some specific ways that affect things that's easy, but here's like maybe some reaches that I found. Like the Treebeard says, we lost our wives. Oh, I'm sorry. How did they die? No, we lost them. And is that a hint at myths and legends typically don't have female characters? They were lost to time, maybe. Because it's true. When I've taught a mythological unit to sophomores, I straight up say, it's like, there's not a lot of female characters, and they're usually the bad guys,
Yeah.
especially in Greek myth.
Yep.
2 more things. This movie technically passes the Bechdel test. It's the only one that does. When the what's her name, and the little girl, she says, "Where's Mama?"
Right.
That's technically a conversation.
Not about a man. Yeah.
That technically passes, which is, and it should. Passing or not passing doesn't mean good. But it is interesting. It's a measurement. But this is the only instance where it does pass, by the way.
Yeah.
And here's another one, the last one I found. Gollum, going into like his, I guess, Jungism. Like, we've talked a little bit about this, like your shadow self. Like, you had an evil version, good version. Jung said there's like a masculine version, a feminine version. And those names are Anima and Animus. There are some interpretations also suggest that Gollum's character can be seen as the Anima and Animus. That Gollum embodies the irrational and emotional aspects, and Smeagol represents the more rational, logical side. One side of Gollum's the evil masculine, and the nicer, softer versions maybe the feminine there. Gollum can be analyzed with what version are we seeing here. But you could even, here's another thing I just thought of. You could even look at the traditional masculine values get rewarded in this movie. Our heroes are the biggest, strongest guys and capable of killing people.
Right.
In fact, the males who aren't the most masculine get punished in a way.
Yep.
Like Wormtongue. He's a bad guy, but he can't fight for himself. And he gets kicked out, basically. So in a roundabout way, using the feminist lens, it's saying if you're not like Aragorn or you're not capable like these heroes, it's not a good thing. Yeah. But then again, there's Sam, who in this movie is just like the caretaker of Frodo. Like in the next movie, he stands up for himself and kills some orcs and things. He fights off Shelob, of course. I wonder if there's a way to even interpret his actions as, since they're not the traditional masculine hero tropes. What does it say about him? Because he's not punished for it, but
well, he's especially as we move into the next movie. So we've talked about Taoism in the past, the yin and the yang, and the idea that we all have the dark and the light, the male and the female, not physically, but like psychologically, I guess. And so Sam, the reason why Sam and potentially, I had never thought of it, but Smeagol / Gollum are the most interesting characters are because they are the ones that come closest to merging those two halves of themselves. Yeah. So
they fight they talk with each other.
And so the foil is that Smeagol Gollum does not at all succeed in integrating them. Yeah. Those two sides are very visible and fighting, whereas with Sam, he does. He successfully integrates the stereotypical male and stereotypical female value systems and ways of thinking. That's actually really interesting. I had never thought of that until you brought it up.
Thanks, Deets.
So that's why Sam is awesome. So maybe that's why all the rest of them are not that interesting, because they're just the one side of the yin-yang. So a couple more things. One thing that I consistently find interesting historically and in epic movies like this is people's willingness to follow obviously either evil or insane leadership. So what is it about somebody gets banished
Wormtongue
in this? No, and it's wrong.
When Theoden was like in his evil form, he banishes his nephew,
that's right,
the guy you were
like chuck him out,
his whole like army basically.
Why so I don't actually have an answer outside of we don't think or whatever, but like, why are we willing to allow evil or allow, obviously, and it's even more apparent in the next movie, and we'll talk more about it there, people just following leaders. I don't think that's good. I don't think it's right.
I think in real life, and we've talked a lot about this even in this episode, but it sometimes feels powerless as one person.
But if, we're holding up The Lord of the Rings as, the epic of all time, that is the main message of this series
Yeah.
is one person, one ant, one little hobbit, one little tree, one little whatever can change everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, maybe we do feel like we're powerless, but it's feeling that fear and doing it anyway. Like, is it, like, the only actual example for me I have is teaching. Am I doing any good? Teaching, 100 kids every year how to think critically and how to act and not be acted upon, giving them tools and mental training. Is that doing any good?
Oh, of course it is.
Well,
Yeah.
if it is, then everyone in their sphere has that same ability.
Yeah.
We are not powerless in the face of insanity in our leadership or evil in our leadership, or the only way that those leaders stay in power or acquire power is we fail to act. We fail to do the things that we know we need to do.
Yeah.
When they're asking us to do things we know are wrong, like, do we have the right to refuse? And yes, I think that we do. I think that in this movie, or this series, like, a lot of the things that happen because people are not willing to say, you know what, that's insane, or that's wrong, or that's evil, or whatever. I just found it really interesting that in this movie multiple times, and more so in the next movie, people just follow. They do things that are wrong, just because that's what the leader said to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So two more things philosophically. We see in this whole series, Nietzsche is famous for his idea of will to power versus... So Nietzsche was literally Antichrist. We've covered that before.
With the mustache.
Right. Okay. So
that's an important part of him.
We're remembering Nietzsche. He said that no one had done more, I'm paraphrasing, no one had done more damage to the human race than Jesus Christ, because he taught us to embrace weakness and to lift, and waste our resources and our time and our energy helping, the downtrodden or whatever.
Yeah.
His opposing philosophy was what he called will to power. That's what we should be doing, is we should be using our strengths to acquire more strength and using our desire to have power to get it. And so Tolkien, his answer to Nietzsche is, well, actually, that might, you might be successful for a time,
Yeah.
but ultimately, Gandalf's going to show up and fix everything or whatever the crap. So Tolkien, and we see this in almost all action fantasy movies, or horror movies even. Probably in most movies, the will to power succeeds for a long, long time. Until the end of the movie, when the righteous or the critical thinkers or the whatever planners or whatever have finally figured out how to defeat it, how to overcome it, how to whatever. And then we have this little 10 minutes at the end of horror movies or other kinds of movies where the good, the thinkers, the actors rise up and defeat the will to power. So if we're to apply this to real life, and art mimics life, etc. My question, I guess, for the listeners, for you maybe, is do we have to allow, or does the will to power have to have that 80-minute chunk of life or whatever, versus the 10-minute chunk when good prevails or charity prevails or whatever? Is that a necessary piece of the human condition, or is it changeable?
Do we need to suffer type of thing?
It's
or
more, do we have to allow the people who are following their will to power to have the power? Or, like I mentioned earlier, is it possible to stop this this destructive cycle before it gets there? What was the quote earlier? How did it come to this? So Theoden's quote, how did it come to this? So is it, again, the will to power drives a lot of what goes wrong. You can pick literally anything that is quote unquote evil, like this, like sex trade, for example.
Yeah.
That's all about the will to power. Slavery, workshop, or what are they, sweatshops, all of that. is will to power. They want the drug trade, the trading on other people's pain so that I can have, a nicer phone or whatever. All of that is what Nietzsche would applaud that. He'd say, yes, these people understand what they're here for. They're acquiring power, acquiring wealth. So is it necessary to allow that? Or is it possible that the last 10 minutes of most of these movies is how life could always be? If we crush the will to power in ourselves and in others, is the world a better place? And that, you don't have to respond. It's just kind of a little thought nugget for all of us.
Yeah.
Is it possible to crush the will of power and live, I don't know, I guess for lack of a better phrase, live a Christ-like life, since Christ is the opposing philosopher to Nietzsche?
Yeah. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
But I feel like, no matter who you are, you can have a good life. It could feel like the last 10 minutes type of thing for a lot of your life if you live a good way. But like, do you need to do that? I don't know. So that's a good question.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
In our crusade, I assume that most of our listeners are listening not just for our, deep takes on what's good and bad, but,
mostly what's bad from you. Yeah.
Life.
Well, that's Two Towers. I think
Two Towers.
This movie, one of the reasons why I think it's the best of the three is because it's the one that feels the most whole. The first one clearly has a cliffhanger ending. The third one, it'd be hard to pick up the pieces if you didn't see the first two. But this one, even if you didn't see the first one, kind of feels like a beginning, middle, and ending. Yeah. I would say.
That's fair.
I only have one more fact. Back when the American Film Institute did a list of the top 100 famous lines from movies, My Precious was on that list.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've updated that list, but also what movies in the last 20 years have had famous lines that stand out? But anyway, I like this movie.
It was pretty good.
I think it's good. I'm excited to talk with you about the Return of the King.
Yeah, which is not as good.
Well, it's still pretty good. Anyway, we love you.
We do love you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Think critically. Bye.